This is our finest hour.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
It's the Mark Larson Show.
When politicians do what they do, more people go, I'm sticking with the program.
Live and local.
We've gotten to the point now where no one wants to say what it is.
AM 760. Talk and breaking news.
Wow, just wow. Hey, good morning. If you think you have the new rules and regulations in the atmosphere of terrorism and wackos who want to do bad things to us, it's just gotten more complicated at the TSA checkpoint. We'll tell you more coming up next. AM 760, Talk and Breaking News.
You're listening to Mark Larson on AM 760. Talk and breaking news.
You got to love summer, though. With all the chaos, everything else going on there. Remember the days you just have time to go fishing and all that? See these couple of young guys? Nathan DeWeese and Ryan Hopkins that hooked records, well, according to the city of Poway, records on the size fish. And these are big old catfish, blue catfish. One of them was 45 pounds, 8 ounces. And the other one, the previous record was 34.8. So, according to SD Fish, you can get these because they're out, catfish, unless they're farm raised, are just... They're bottom feeders and all that. It's like, tasty. If you happen to cook them up, you go, it's interesting. Set pair of pliers. Who knew? But they did do a catch and release, so now those will be out there to threaten people and then start rumors with conspiracy theorists of Loch Ness monsters and Lake Poway and all that. But it's one of those things you do. It used to be simpler. You could just do that. You could go and travel, not worry about getting a strip search. Actually, according to things in the water, seafood and all of that. What did the TSA do a couple of weeks ago? The guy was doing a photo op. You see that? The TSA agent with the giant lobster that somebody was shipping legitimately. It was a huge lobster, but it's properly packed. And the TSA is going through, and the guy does a selfie with the lobster, which irritated a lot of people, including the owner of the lobster. Said, I didn't violate anything. What are they doing? Which brings us to Charles Slepian, who actually knows what they're doing. He's the founder and CEO of the Foreseeable Risk Analysis Center. So, Charles, first of all, does the TSA get to go through anything they want? I guess they can, but should they be whipping out stuff that's not contraband and saying, let's do a selfie?
Well, not only do they get to go through anything they want, they get to abuse you in any way they want.
Oh.
Because TSA is premised on a built-in excuse, and it's called security. They do something that doesn't work out. That's sloppy, that's chaotic, that's disruptive, that inconveniences thousands of passengers. The answer is, security required it, security protocol, and that's where we are once again. Over 300,000 passengers that fly from the Middle East nonstop to the United States, and mostly Americans, by the way, business people going back and forth.
Right, I've done those trips,
They're told, you can't fly on those flights anymore, on those nonstop flights, because those airlines and those airports are not following proper protocol when it comes to the elusive laptop bomb.
So all it takes is one incident, right, Charles? So back in, last year, they had one with a Somalia flight from Mogadishu, which I know is a wonderfully hot vacation place. All families want to go there, and then on to Yemen. But, I mean, and I understand that they say, okay, we better be overly cautious. But then it was, again, selective out of those certain airports. And now we've got confusion over, well, can you take electronic devices on? TSA is going to start separate screening at all of our airports at a different level, or at least what? So we have to put them in a different tray, laptops and cell phones and iPads and whatever.
That's once again, the TSA relies on the security scapegoat. They have to explain why they did what they did in the airports in the Middle East, where they said you must separate out laptops from everything else. And a couple of the airlines apparently didn't do it, so they were grounded for months. And passengers who wanted their nonstop flights couldn't get them. I won't even go into the fact that it only really impacted on American carriers that complained about it because they don't have that nonstop route that comes out of the triangle in the Middle East where all the business is. They don't have it, and that's a separate argument that's been going on for a couple of years now. So what happened was we entwined the policy about barring citizens of certain countries from coming to the United States, which I don't give a hoot in hell about. Pardon me, but I don't.
I think you can travel there if you go through the right screening, which gets us back to Mogadishu, which is probably close to that. Yeah.
Well, I don't really care about that. What I do care about is when we use security as the reason for abusing people around the world, mostly Americans, by the way. That gets under my skin, and that's what happened here. This was a deliberate policy to abuse passengers. And they went ahead and had it out there for about 4 months. Well, now they've come back instantaneously. They pulled it off the table, haven't explained why. Suddenly, okay, it's all right. They're now in compliance, those airports and those airlines, and they're back to flying to the United States. Well, the heat was turned up. So what does TSA do? They say, well, we said that there is a real danger because of these exploding.
Right, so they don't want to be
devices.
they don't want to be wrong about that. So now they said, well, we're still trusting, verifying here, and we're going to do our part. And now everybody else is going to have to go through the rigmarole too.
Well, what they're saying is we found a new and better way. The new and better way is to put all these devices now through the same old X-ray machine that they've been using now for 15 years. But they say we're going to repack the tray so there's nothing on top of the device. And this apparently in consultation with MIT, they came up with this new engineering technique. I mean, I can't believe these people that they continue to do this. And we are forced, unfortunately,
right. Yeah,
to often,
and during the peak of summer when the lines are long anyway. Charles Slepian with us at the Foreseeable Risk Analysis Center. This essay you wrote about this new change at the TSA. So this is a new protocol, you're right, that it requires all commercial airports in the United States to have passengers place all carry-on electronic devices larger than a cell phone in a separate bin for examination. Once again, looking for the computer bombs, and then checked baggage screening for laptops will remain the same, and TSA pre-check passengers, which I have, and that's good, so it makes you want to get pre-check if you don't have it, but then assuming the pre-check is open, sometimes it's not. So that's another little...
Well, that's why they now have ClearPass you can join, for an additional...
Wait a minute, so is it about the revenue? Is it possibly about the revenue, Charles?
No, I wouldn't say such a thing.
All right, well...
You bet it is, my friend. You bet it is. I mean, if we're dealing with the most serious issue in aviation today, which is security,
sure,
then we say, okay, we're going to come up with a pre-check program. And we come up with a pre-check program, and I'm a beneficiary of that. I belong to pre-check, and I generally march right through. But the premise from a security point of view is, quite frankly, asinine. From the day that you are approved, you are never checked again. So you can become a mass murderer the next week.
Well, pre-check's like 5 years, isn't it? I think it's a 5-year deal. And then what? Did they just send you an automatic renewal if you're on good behavior?
Hey, how long did it take you a pre-check? Well, I don't know what.
Well, I went through the thing. I had to go get fingerprinted, and they give you go through this thing. You go to a pre-check center, and it was so busy that you risk having your car towed. And then, but it's a 5-year deal, I think, isn't it?
And when I think you renew it.
Yeah.
5 years, but
right.
They're not telling you they're going to go through the security check all over again, and that's really what the whole thing is about.
Ah, okay. Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right up there with if you're 75 plus, you can keep your clothes on, and I go through there, which tells me then the bad guys go, quick, let's get some older terrorists. But Charles Slepian at Foreseeable Risk Analysis Center. But you still travel, you still fly, you're out there doing your thing, but you're shining the light of truth.
Absolutely.
All right, Charles.
Absolutely. They leave me alone.
I appreciate it.
An old man.
Thank you much. Well, just know when you think you got it figured out, they're going to do it again. Charles Slepian, Foreseeable Risk Analysis Center.